Hello everyone, my name is General Holse. Welcome back to another Fallout 4 building tutorial. Today we're going to be playing around with some of the Brotherhood of Steel structures and showing you how you can reinforce them a bit, as well as we're going to play around with some of the pre-war military pieces that you can find around the Commonwealth, maybe in some pre-war military installations, or in some of the checkpoints. So I'm first going to start off biggest to smallest, and I'm going to show you guys basically what I do. I'm going to work with the Brotherhood of Steel pieces first, and then I'll move on to something else in a little. So the reason behind me reinforcing or basically working on the Brotherhood of Steel, because you could honestly place these in your settlement and just call it a day, but I didn't like it that much. When I first saw these, I didn't like it. When I first saw these in the airport, I didn't like it too much. They were a bit, out of place to me. Mostly because the Brotherhood of Steel, they are a faction, the Wasteland. They're not so clean, such as the Institute. So I would imagine that maybe someone in the Brotherhood of Steel, whether it was the soldiers who set it up, or maybe someone else, maybe one of the higher ranking officials decided, well, let's add some reinforcement to the wall to make it a bit more stronger and a bit more secure for, the Brotherhood that are on the ground. So I went ahead and I added some pieces. I add some junk walls and some junk fences. And I don't only leave it like that. I add some cinder blocks around there as well. I highly recommend using these cinder block walls. They're really great. But I just throw these around a bit, make it look just sort of take apart the whole wood from it, because I kind of do cover up the wood a lot. I mean, I do cover up the metal a lot, and I sort of leave a layer of wood, and I don't really like that too much. I would recommend using it, I would recommend covering it up, just not covering it up to the point where you can't see some of the metal. I generally like what I did. I'm not going to say that I don't. I kind of like what I did because like I said, it adds some of the reinforcement that it definitely needs. I also highly recommend, if you're going to do this, to use any pieces that you see that has barbed wire in it. I don't know why the Brotherhood of Steel just didn't have barbed wire from the get-go in their, bases or whatever. Honestly, it's kind of weird that there's fences around some of the pre-war military bases, but there's no barbed wire. And it's kind of weird to me, so I decided to throw some barbed wire pieces in there just to make it look a bit, like there's a bit of extra defense in there, because, barbed wire generally does the job. If not, we wouldn't have used it for so many years. But anyway, I also throw around some concrete in there, as I mentioned earlier. As you see, there's these concrete barricades that I like a lot. I also use these ruined wood walls, which these are amazing if you're gonna, for whatever you're gonna do. If you're gonna build a destroyed house, I recommend using those. If you're gonna build a wall like this, I recommend using those as well. Mostly because it looks like they sort of got a piece of some of the, got like a section of wood boards from a house nearby or from a building nearby, and sort of just threw it on there, as well as these ruined brick walls that I think that, like, you could probably find these. I don't know where they are in the Commonwealth. If any of you know where they are, where you could see them, just let me know. But I don't know where they are. But it seems like you could at least just stack those on, and you don't need any, concrete to make them stick together. Here I'm putting some spiked barricades. These may look familiar. These are actually from Far Harbor. I don't know where they are located in exactly. I know they're located in the main settlement. I just don't know the name. I know the main settlement which you first dock in, but the name just completely flew over me, in all due honesty. So, I highly recommend using these as well. I like them a lot. I think these definitely should have been from the get-go in the airport, even if it was just those bland walls that I mentioned earlier, just those bland empty walls, because the ghouls generally just run, they don't really, I mean, they're smart enough to sort of go around a wall, but I don't know. I would imagine seeing probably some ghouls strung up in the barbed wire, or some ghouls sort of impaled on some of those wood things, but that's just my whole thought behind it. So let's say you don't want something as big as a Brotherhood steel structure, which I completely understand. Some settlements are a bit smaller and you can't really fit. Oh, there's a blowfly in the background over there. I just noticed. I'm sorry, sidetrack. Blowflies appear on this settlement all the time. But anyway, let's say you don't want something as big. I decided to use some of the pre-war military pieces to sort of just add on to it and change it up a bit. And you can change the size. There's also these stairs that I use. I know you can find some of the Brotherhood steel stuff in the pre-war checkpoints. So I decided to use those stairs and sort of throw them on there. I look over the wall earlier, if you noticed, is because I'm actually sort of making this into like a shooting post, sort of, where a guard could maybe stand on top of the stairs and shoot over. But yeah. And then I'm adjusting this because I don't know why that sinks into the ground so much. I don't know. But yeah, and then I'm also making this. I'm first making the general structure, then I'm going to reinforce it a bit. I add some floorboards around here. Generally, I always say you should add floorboards just to sort of break up the textures. And if you're not going to break up the textures, it could be to maybe even patch up a hole, so to speak, in the area, and maybe give some support to, what you're building. It always gives a good scrappy look to it, so I like it, and I definitely recommend you should use some of the plywood ramps and pieces that are given to you if you do download Workshop Rearranged. Here I'm using the junk fence with barbed wire again. Like I said, I really like I like the barbed wire a lot. I figured, it's honestly kind of strange to me that the Brotherhood of Steel has like all this pre-war technology and stuff, but they don't have barbed wire. I don't think anywhere in the airport, so I don't know. It was just a bit weird to me. And when I saw that, I was a bit confused. So here I'm actually having a bit of a problem with the junk fence. I'm actually going to explain this. If you are using Workshop Rearranged, and this should only apply if you are using Workshop Rearranged. I think it worked out fine for me when I was playing a vanilla game. But if you are using Workshop Rearranged, you are given two options for the junk fences, which is the normal junk fence and then junk fence free place. Now, the difference between these is that I think the free place one doesn't have any snapping points on it, while the normal junk fences do have snapping points on it, and you could basically snap it and it will sort of close that gap that there is between the junk fences. Because, if you place them in the vanilla game without using a concrete glitch or a pillar glitch, they sort of, you can't place one right next to each other. You have to sort of, there's always going to be that little gap. So, yeah. Here I'm placing some cinder block piles and walls around. I like I said, I love the cinder blocks. I think they're really great. I can't tell if these cinder blocks, like, I'm looking at some of the textures now, but I can't tell if someone maybe put concrete on those cinder blocks. But it looks a bit more fresh than it looks a bit more like placed and not really, you know, like someone went ahead and stuck them together with something. So that's what I like about them. And then I also put those tires there. I try to put a spiked barricade in, but it doesn't really work out. I decided to throw in the steel barricade that you can find in the metros in, I think it's some of the metro stations in Boston. And I think, yeah. And then I also throw in some chain link fences. Now that I think about it, I think I honestly should have put the chain link fence in front of that short barricade. I don't know why, that's just me thinking now. I think that would look a ton better. I put it on the side and I still think that looks great, but I think you could also add it to the front there. I sort of look over that ledge and it's still too short, but I couldn't really adjust it now. I thought it was going to be good. So here's pretty much the final view of it and just a general idea of what you can do. And here's how I use it. I'm actually here in Jamaica Plain, and there are some junk fence walls up, as well as some of the pre-war military barricades up. Now, instead of using the Brotherhood steel stairs to make a small little ledge, I use some of the scaffolding and I connect them together using floorboards, and then I add the Brotherhood of Steel stairs on each edge to so you can get up to it. Here I made a small little barricade, and a barrier with, basically it's almost the other pieces over there. It's like the other pieces over there. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you soon. Have a good one.